Hey Weirdos, this is Evan Jarvix with Make Oklahoma Weirder, and this is your local music vlog for the week. Let's jump into it. Thomas Who? Thomas Who? Thomas Who? Okay, so I'm not that familiar with this name, and I'm guessing a lot of you are not either, but it's time for us to pay attention because Thomas Who won King of Kings on Monday. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I posted it on a couple of social media platforms, but I haven't really discussed it. I think I've mentioned Art of Rap before, but Hubbly Bubbly over on Klassen hosts a lot of hip-hop events. It's been a really big, growing hub of hip-hop culture in Oklahoma City for like 5+ years. It's a big deal. And they've had this thing going called Art of Rap, which is a competition that happens every month out there where up-and-coming, aspiring MCs go through 3 rounds and get kind of like narrowed down until there's one champion, go head-to-head, are judged and given constructive criticism and feedback on how to better their craft and how to better their performance, and it's really been a huge thing for Oklahoma City hip-hop, and it's turned out a lot of really quality names. And so this is a thing that happens, once a month, and then it's been about, I guess a year, because there's 11 of these champions who, if you win, by the way, you win a cash prize, and then you get featured in the Heart of Hip Hop showcase later that month if you win Art of Rap. But they took 11 Art of Rap winners and put them all together in a special Art of Rap like Ultimate Championship where they went against each other, called it King of Kings. It's not the first time this has happened, but it's the first time I've paid close enough attention to follow along. And the winner, the best of the best here, is Thomas Who won like $150, a writing exclusive of some sort from Dez from GotSteez.net, who you should follow if you don't, and a free music video, and multiple features in upcoming Heart of Hip Hop events. So that is a huge, huge prize. And man, the hip hop scene is just so cool. Can I just say that real quick? If we had, Battle of the Bands stuff that went off half like this does, we would be turning out so many awesome bands, I'm certain. But I think personalities would probably get in the way too much. Granted, personalities certainly flare up in the hip hop scene too, but there's a really, really distinct kind of community here that really does cultivate artists like nothing I see anywhere. So, the latest name to kind of take this crown is Thomas Who, which is an artist I'm not very familiar with. I do listen to the Rap Podcast, which is a local podcast put on by Dez of GotSteez, with a couple of other major figures in the hip hop scene. And so I don't listen to every episode, but I try to keep up with it. And they had their end of the year, awards, and Original Flow is on this podcast, and he made special mention of Thomas Who as somebody who he thought had a really good year and somebody to be looking out for. And so I took that to heart. I've seen the name before. I'm not completely unfamiliar with Thomas Who, but I haven't really delved into his music. I haven't really seen him on very many bills, so I've never seen him live. But I guess it's time to change that. Also, there's an album that's going to come out in a couple of months that I can't really talk to you about, really, but I can probably at least tease that it's a really awesome music album that does have features from Thomas Who, and they are very good, and I'm really excited about the project, which, I'm not going to go into because I've been sworn to secrecy on this, but Thomas Who being a part of this group project really it all kind of happened at the same time. I was listening to this project. I found out he won. He got mentioned on the rap podcast, and I'm like, I need to know who this guy is, because I try to pride myself on, knowing about local artists, but I'm also kind of new to this. I've really only been paying attention to hip hop for about 3 years. Other than like JB. Everybody knows JB. Everybody knows Josh Salee, LTZ. But once you like really start digging, there's hundreds of rappers out there. And anyway, so I just wanted to pass that along. That's kind of a big deal, and I'm sorry for not having ever brought this artist to anybody's attention, because I've been sleeping on this guy. That's just how it is. I've been sleeping on this guy. So I think that's enough talk about Thomas Who for now, but I'm certain I will be talking about him again in the future. There's so much happening. I got to shout out Tulsa. Tulsa rock scene right now is huge. I feel like I'm talking about a new album release every week. Last week I talked about Lilac Kings, and I didn't even get to talk about The Odyssey, who dropped an EP last week. It's really good. If you're into kind of like a blues alternative indie rock kind of thing, I posted about them on social media. But check out The Odyssey. And then Golden Ones is a band that's actually playing tonight at the ACM at UCO Performance Lab with Helen Kelter Skelter and Shelter People. They are dropping a little something special at midnight, and I might get to have a couple of words to say about that at midnight. So stay focused on the blog. I'm going to be talking about this new Rose Gold music video that's dropping at midnight. Speaking of gold, Rose Gold is another band out there from Tulsa. Just dropped a new project today, and I've already listened to it, and it's fantastic. It's called In Us We Trust, and if you're into like kind of like the post-hardcore, like screamo meets like just gorgeous rock music, you got to check this out. Man, there's so much. Speaking of gold again, we've got Golden Ones, new music, Rose Gold, new music, and there's also a little something called King Rose. King Rose has new music. King Rose is probably not a name any of you know unless you've really been paying attention to the unique members in King Rose. It's a 2-person project, and one of those people, prominently, is none other than Graham Colton. Yeah, Graham Colton's got a new project, and it's... If you've been following Graham Colton, I mean, he's been a fixture for 10, 20 years. I mean, a long time. And he's the mind behind, all kinds of cool things, like the Jones Assembly, for instance, the Lunar Manor. I know he's got some involvement in. Graham Colton, who kind of really made it big, to some degree. He was on Letterman and all that stuff. Back when late shows were hosted by different people. And then, kind of changed his sound, kind of changed his career path. Last thing he put out was in 2014, I think. He put out Lonely Ones, which was kind of like a turn for the indie, where before he was a little bit more of kind of like a singer-songwriter rock, almost southern kind of feel. But he's definitely changed his sound quite a bit, and I think this new project makes a lot of sense for him, because it's kind of a rebrand, a rename. It's not being marketed as a local album. I haven't seen anybody locally really even talking about it. Kind of like, like Chair Model is one of those, where it's like they didn't really perform, they didn't really get any features written about them. They weren't really promoting locally. They were really going for like the bigger national guns, and I kind of feel like King Rose is probably following in this, and they do have a core member in common. So anyway, but I did want to pass it along because King Rose, if you're into kind of modern contemporary pop rock music, it's got a lot of fun grooves and jams to it. And I think I'm pretty much out of time already. Kaylin Faye, real quick. Kaylin Faye also dropped an album today out of Tulsa. Singer-songwriter, folk, kind of melancholy album. I've listened to that as well. Really good. Would recommend if you're into that kind of thing. And catch Josh Salee. He's got a show this weekend, Big Love 2.